Okay, let's start. Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good something, and welcome to this month's webinar. And we're continuing a tradition that I've started a few webinars ago, talking about AI with all kinds of stuff. And today it's going to be about API testing with AI. If you missed or have a feeling that you need to watch the other videos and you haven't, or watch them again, go to my YouTube channel, Testing Gill. Every recording is over there. Not everything is with cats, like it's going to be today, but nothing's perfect, right? So we're going to talk about API testing today, and I think we can start, right? Going to be cats. Before we do, that's me in the picture, or a better me. I'm Gil. I'm a trainer and consultant and mentor, and I work with people, developers, testers, DevOps people, product people, managers who want better quality, want to improve their quality, and API testing and web testing, automation and unit testing and TDD and clean code, everything that contributes to making software better. If you ever need some kind around these things, let me know. I'm very approachable, except all the cats that defend me when I move. So, like I said, courses, I've API testing courses with for both testers and developers with Postman, whatever tools that you're using, and all kinds of things about exploration and stuff like that. If you're stuck, let me know, and I can help. So, API test. I want to start because this is something that I sort of talked about in the last webinar, which is what we're after. And what we're after, when we're talking about either automation or AI or whatever, the starting point is that we don't have enough time to do what we need to do or what we want to do. Applications are more complex than ever. We have less time. Quality from the developers is suspect. And we try to juggle a lot of balls in the air, and we want to make the most of our time. And so AI, automation, whatever we can do, is kind of gives us a bit more time. More time for what? More testing. And this is basically what we're after. We want to learn as much as we can about the system and report on it because this is our job. And the more time we have, the more we'll learn. And the more we learn, we can supply the stakeholders with information that is something that they can rely on, whether to release a version, fix a bug, order a complete rewrite, or whatever. So we want more testing or more testing time, and AI can help. So yeah, every time we're going into this, like, will AI replace us? Well, not today, probably not tomorrow, but we can better at our job by using AI. And we're talking about today. And all the things that I'm going to show you is not like a promotion for whatever's coming in 3 months or 3 years. We'll get better, but until then, we need like a human there to do all kinds of things. But I'm going to show you today all kinds of examples that we can do today, that we can get help from LLMs, AI, companions, copilots, future overloads, depending on how you want to call them, and optimize our time. And again, the goal is if we optimize our time, we'll have more time for testing, and we'll have more results to report on. And this is, like I said, our job. So cats. Okay, so the examples I'm going to show you today, we're going to talk about APIs, is from, if you don't know, there's thecatapi.com, which is a server, and an application, sort of a cats for albums thing. So it has APIs, because every day is Cat Day, of course. And this is the documentation. It has all kinds of things. There's also the dog API for dog people. I'm actually a dinosaur person, but not yet. So this is like an image thing. You can upload images and search for them and stuff like that. And it has an open API spec that loads slowly. And these are like the APIs that it has around images. And you see a lot of examples here. and we're mostly going to center about the Votes API. Think about it as a CRUD applications, like data management applications, with a bit of twist that we're going to explore as well. So how can a person who is not a cat use an AI who is presumably not a cat to help with testing? So let's jump into PyCharm. Why PyCharm? Tradition. And I started doing that, and I'm going to show you also example in Python. Everything I'm going to talk about today, the code examples are in Python, but of course it's true for everything that you use in JavaScript, C#, Java, PHP, depending on what kind of language you want to talk. So single APIs. I'm going to start with talking about planning and test suggestions, and I kind of try to separate that from a single API. Here's an API, go check it, and multiple APIs, which we'll talk about soon, and like these are like real workflows. So the first thing I asked is suggestion for a single API. So, I didn't mention that. This is May 2025. I used as my colleague, co-colleague, Claude Sonnet 3.7. It was before 4.0 came out. And what you're going to see today are the results and the answers that it gave me based on my questions. It's important to say that this is not like a judgment of a specific model. Like, yes, I'm showing you Claude, but it doesn't have to. The thing is that everybody knows the models are going to improve in time, so the results are probably going to be better. And different models will give you different answers. So this is not about how good Claude is in giving me answers, but more about me as a tester. How can I use the answers? Now, which questions can I ask to get me to, like I said, follow my goal, have more time to test and maybe relax a bit. So this is the first prompt I gave it, and what you're going to see is a continuation of a chat in different ways. So I told Mr. Claude, I'm going to test the cat API. You can get the schema and doc from here, which is I think I showed you. Give me a list of cases to test for each of the votes endpoints. So before I show you, let me show you the votes endpoints. So we have a get endpoint for votes, get all the votes, a post for doing a vote. It has like, this is the bot that we're going to send. It has a get vote with ID and get vote and delete ID, delete votes per ID. So this is very simple. So I wanted to start with that. So about 10 seconds later, this is what I got. There's a lot of them here. I'm not going to read everything here. I'm going to go over the interesting stuff. So first of all, give me, well, this is the things for the post. And you see that everything is going to be separated into basic functionality, like submit a valid vote and verify successful vote creation and verify vote is properly associated with a specific image, everything with a single vote. So single vote API. So you can actually learn this stuff when you decide how to verify. Verify vote value is correctly stored. This is like, you can't look at the response of the API and tell, it actually got stored. You may need other things. So basic functionality, edge cases. If you watch some of my videos talking about edge cases, I don't like edge cases. These are not really edge cases, but Claude doesn't speak my language. And it told me that you can submit a vote with missing required fields, invalid image ID, invalid values, like things that I expect or I'm expected to test. It goes on into test rate limiting by submitting many votes quickly, like we're talking about performance and stuff like that. There's a X rate limit header that also affects stuff. Large or very small vote values and authorization tests. And then like with token, without token, stuff like that. Interesting stuff. All for the post. Same for the get all votes, therefore get a specific vote and delete. And an interesting one, which I was kind of surprised, here's a get API and endpoint for images, a specific image, and votes for an image. So I wasn't looking at that I was looking like at the votes API for the votes endpoint, but there's another one, and I can benefit from. Imagine like you have like a big scroll of all endpoints. You might miss one. Claude didn't, which is nice. So testing single API is excellent, and sometimes this is like a good point to start. Like I like what I got here. Again, I need to be the judge of this applies to me or not, to the situation, to the context. This is not like removing the human from the equation. This won't work. We need to verify what's happening here, and I did, and but something was missing because if the context, and if I'm starting out to test everything, I probably won't test everything in this order that it gave me. Like who's going to do authorization before doing the get? Like, nobody did. So I asked it to organize. So just organize it differently, like valid cases, invalid cases, authentication. And if you recall, GPT, T, transformation. The T in GPT is transformation. Any transformation, this is like breakfast for these guys. So it gave me this list. All the valid cases for the API, all the invalid cases, and authentication. So you can, it's not like just like getting a list and okay, I'll copy it and then I'll do whatever I want with it. Organize it so I can, it makes sense to me and it makes sense for my work to do what I'm expecting. Okay, so these APIs are like CRUD stuff, regular CRUD stuff. I want to do something, and this is like I'm telling you, don't tell Claude. As I was doing this, I was actually sort of testing Claude. So the prompts that I gave are sort of deliberately not exactly what I wanted because I want to see what will happen. And most of the time, it actually gave me what I wanted. We'll see when it didn't. So one API, one endpoint, the upload of an image is a bit different because it's not like just retrieving data or posting data with a body. Uploading an image is something that is a bit different than regular CRUD application. So I asked Claude, the post images upload, this is the API that uploads data, needs extra care. And I kept it vague on purpose. Can you suggest cases for testing it? So lots of cases. So first of all, types of images and dimensions and tags and optional parameters are part of the body that we're sending. Multiple image, if supported. Remember that models today, they can read schema. What exactly is implemented, they don't really know. So they can suggest. Verify successful upload returns appropriate image ID, blah, blah, blah. Invalid cases. Format issues. What happens when I try to do a PDF? What happens when a corrupted image file or an empty file? Maximum file size, dimensions, content. What happens if I try to upload a dog? So a lot of ideas for testing, and this is like, again, I remind everyone out there, it's not something that you can't do yourself. You're good. You probably know cats, and you probably know your application. This is something that you will probably be able to do by yourself. You won't be able to do this in 10 seconds. That's just it. So if it's good enough and gives you a lot of ideas of how to do this in 10 seconds, and then you need to think about, like, go over this list for 2 minutes and say, oh, I'm going to focus on this, saves a lot of time. Plus, it's going to eventually, if not today, come up with ideas that you don't think about upfront. And this is okay because this planning is about throwing cases and say we're going to look at those and focus on those and maybe drop others. But first, give us the ideas. And if we come up with a shorter list, this is what we're going to focus on. And that's too bad because we have a lot of things we should be looking at. Final thing I did with the single API, it was header related. So again, I wanted to see what the response will be if I said, well, this is a structure thing, not about content, because all the things that we did until now, single API, you understood what votes are, you understood the system, organized it, the image. This is a bit different because this is about what other cases involve sending non-default header. What is non-default? Again, I kept it vague, and that was on purpose to see what will they come up. So it did give me a lot of things. First of all, it didn't misunderstand me. These are the things that are related to headers that should be sent with the requests for the different APIs. However, and you can see that these are more feature related, like workflow related, rather than this is the API that is needed, but more of the effect that. However, what is non-default? Content type is usually default, right? Yes, multiple form data is for the upload of the image. It's not just JSON. So it could be like whatever you expected, more or less, or not. So again, our job today is to review what it gave us and say, okay, this is the things that I'm going to start with. And this is for the votes. And if I want to be a bit more specific, then I would probably say it, the content type, probably not something that I want to focus on in most of the cases. Maybe the upload is interesting more. So that was the single API. And of course, it's nice and something that we do, but not as interesting as running multiple APIs. So I started with, again, a suggestion for cases. Give me a list of cases of series of CRUD operations of the votes endpoint. Again, it's not about everything. I sort of said, felt compelled to say that we're not testing each one of them, but a combination of calls. And I got it. So this is what I got. And you can see that it gave me create a new vote. This is what you need to send. Get all votes, what you need to send. Get a specific vote ID, what you need to send. Create another vote. Get votes filtered by sub ID. Get delete vote by ID, which is okay. It is a sequence I can run in any tool that runs APIs. And if you've done like a CRUD testing for a while, you probably think this is like the sequence that I would use to see if data is managed correctly. But I wanted more. I wanted something that is not tester related, but more user related. So I asked it this way. Can you show me 5 more scenarios? I don't need the details, what I need to send, but each scenario has to follow a sequence a user would do. Again, keeping it a bit vague, but I want to see what they'll come up. So this was very interesting because it came up with scenarios. So like casual browser voting session, or creating a personal cat collection, or weekly cat rating contest. So not the scenarios I expected. But again, I'm not the judge here. If it was my application, I would probably know it more and I'll understand what the user scenarios, the important ones are, and I can actually rate those, rank them, and say these are more important. And it gives me a lot of good information about what I need to do. And this is good because this is from the perspective of the user. And that way I can say, this makes sense, doesn't make sense. Maybe it makes sense in some kind of very low priority usage of the system. And therefore, I probably will not start testing with that. But other stuff, probably I will. And for each of them, I can ask for more details, like it already gave me. And it was an interesting scenario. So if you want other cat breed preference analysis and social sharing, cat curation, things that are hard to imagine and they're also hard to pronounce. Okay, next I said, okay, that's nice, that's functional stuff. let's talk about other things that I want to your opinion. So I'd like to check cases of concurrent use of sequences of APIs, both the same user and multiple users. Can you suggest appropriate scenarios? Again, keeping it vague. I was looking for something that will something about concurrency and load and stuff like that, and wasn't disappointed. Rapid sequential upload. It understands the schema. It understands the usage of the schema. So rapid sequential upload. What happened? And it knows other stuff as well. So the scenario that you're seeing here are based on things that the LLM was trained on, and it was trained on other data management and image sharing sites and so on, and testing them. Upload and vote immediately. Upload and delete. It's not really a race condition, parallel CRUD. So all these things are image upload for the same user. It also gave me the multiple user concurrent scenario, which is same voting, popular image access pattern, simulate viral scenario. Many, like it really went off the edge. Write, read conflicts. What happens when somebody tries to upvote and we try to read the votes? What happens then? So and administratives, like types of users, an admin does something, the user does something else. So there might be conflicts. Again, we can do it. If we know the APIs and we know what the application is supposed to do, we can do this. We cannot do this in 10 to 20 seconds, not all of it. And this is a great help. Final thing I wanted to ask here is, well, you've given me a lot to think about. Can you prioritize all the sequences by risk? And this is, again, what is risky? You know probably better than your helper here, but your helper knows about all things that happening in many other applications. So what you'll get is basically based on a lot of other people's opinions, and did that again. Want to see what happened, and this is continuing the last questions about concurrency and multiple users. So must that scenario and high priority and so on. Upload and vote makes sense. Vote sequence integrity. You want to make sure that the data is accurate. Same image voting, probably a high priority scenario, and therefore we'd like to actually test that. Write and read conflict, I'm not sure it's going to be high on the priority, but again, it depends on what you are in testing this application. You're starting off, probably not the first thing that you'll do. It's written, it's been tested for a while, you have an automation around these things, why not start here? So it's up to you to decide, again, confirm, validate this plan and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, or pick from that. That's as well. Good thing as well. Okay, so that was planning, and then I moved on to something else, preparations. So if you've seen the other webinars, you probably know AI can generate code very well. And one of the things that is important when when we're talking about APIs is preparing data for the APIs, JSON, XML files, all kinds of stuff. So the first thing I asked it is for input data for a single API. For the votes post endpoint, just one. Create input data for the following cases. So this is from the cases that it gave me. Submit a valid vote with all required fields, missing required fields, invalid image ID, and test with very large or very small vote values. And bang, I got this for each one with a lot of explanations, but basically this is a JSON stuff I can copy and reuse. And this is something, like I said, you probably can do yourself, but this is a very simple bits of JSON. If you have requests with a very big request bodies that you need to edit and re-edit, it's going to be error prone. And unless you really love editing JSON files, probably don't want to do that. You want to see though that yes, it gave you ideas of like image ID, XYZ123, user 123. Of course, These are things that are examples. Some of them are even taken from the examples in the site. But are these perfect for what I would do? Like if I wrote it from scratch, would I use XYZ123? Probably not. I would also probably put some comments here and saying what this ID or this ID needs to be there or stuff like that. Yeah, non-existent ID. It's like, yeah, and you need to make sure that the non-existent ID is really non-existent. So it tells you, it explains, gives you hints in the examples. The value 9999999 is the high value for the boundary. So it does a good job. It's not going to be perfect with like big requests because you'll have lots of values. You won't see exactly what's important, what's not important, which is a problem also if you're doing it yourself. But if you do it yourself, you probably do a bit of commenting and help yourself with that. Okay, so that's input data. I went to the other end with assertion data. So that means that at the end of that, for the vote post endpoint, for submitting a valid vote, or the first one, with all the required fields, create the expected response data. So you can see that this is the expected response. It's important to understand that the response that would be returned when submitting a valid, blah, blah, blah. API will maintain its vote record associated with both, which can be retrieved. And I'm looking for something that it doesn't say here, which is, it's not running it. So based on the schema and the input that it's created, like with the XYZ and user123, I can definitely guarantee that this ID would not be there. You need to understand that what it created for you, and again, it's good that it's created for you because it's very fast to create those. You need to be the validator and understand when you're asserting stuff, like comparing what is it that you do need to check and what is like, do I need to disregard the ID because I know it's dynamic? Or do I need to look at the ID because it has some kind of pattern or whatever? You need to say, well, country code US, yeah, even if I'm doing it from Australia, you need to understand the context. It doesn't run it. It doesn't give you, this is, I ran it through here. This is what I got, and this is what you should do. What you should also get, because that would not be like actual testing. So you need to be, again, in control here about what you're seeing and what you're going to use. I also did it, I went back to the input thing, and I gave it a whole scenario, which is a lot more interesting for me because most of the time I will probably test by scenario rather than by single API. Dump all the things that I need for creating a personal cat collection. Again, it's from the thing that it suggested before. And I got catlover at example.com and all kinds of things that some of them I need to fill. The data, the path, all kinds of things, fluffy. So I can write it all. I can copy and modify these things. But I can also save this thing as documentation of what I'm going to do, which is very nice. So saves time, but it requires personal observation. Okay, so all this for preparation. I move forward, and I wanted to see how it can help me with setup and cleanup. So first, I asked it to get to the point. So I want to start testing from an image that was voted for 3 times. Create a Python function using the requests library. If you're in Python, this is how you call APIs, but it could be like Java and rest assured or whatever you're using. The request library to call the APIs to get to that state. So I asked something that requires understanding of what's happening, and I got this. So It's sort of a templatey thing. I need to debate. It knows the base URL, API key, EA doesn't guess. And headers and test data. And it's interesting because it told me first, you probably want to upload a cat image. You start from there, but for this example, I'm going to use the search API to find an existing image rather than uploading a new one. So not what I asked, or not what I expected, really. But the script is there, so it actually goes, finds an image, checks that it actually did not fail, gets the data, uh, shouts, I found an image, and then goes and votes for this image and verify that the votes were recorded by getting the votes. So it actually does a get to see that it got a 200 and gets the data and then checks that it is 3. And if not, it actually tells me a warning. So I have a script that gets me to a point, which is great. I can do this manually, but why should I? Especially if I want to start like a lot of the times from a setup database or something like that. So obviously this can be like, this is through the APIs, could be somewhere else. But now I have a script to do that. But then I asked it to, I also need a function to call after every test that cleans all images and votes. Makes sense. And I got this. This is it actually appended it to the last thing. So this is that we saw earlier. And you see that this is like a bunch of code. And I have a cleanup test data, blah, 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 copying, duplication, stuff like that. And it actually, the nice thing that it does is like it deletes the votes, but it deletes it from the bottom. So first it gets the votes and deletes them, and then cleans up the favorites, which I didn't ask specifically, but it does this. But I ask for deleting the images, and it needs to delete the favorites before it actually goes to delete the images. So even understanding the sequence of what it needs to do is pretty nice here. Okay, did that, which is cool. And an example, if I want to run it, it's really cool. And these are not tests. We want actual tests. So we did something manually. We say, okay, let's do this in a test. Do this for me. Let's generate something. So I asked it to create a test to check the adding a vote to the count increases the count of the votes. Now, if it was 3, it should be 4. If it was 6, it should be 7. That's all the information I gave it, but this was in continuation to the chat before the last generated one. So I want to see what happened. This is interesting because what will happen is I got the cat API vote count test class. First of all, it made a decision. It uses the unit test framework in Python. I was expecting to see PyTest based on all kinds of things that I asked Claude to do before. So yeah, not always what you expect will happen. And it sort of did something interesting because in the setup, the before each of the thing, it calls the setup with 3 votes. So kind of assume that what I asked before applies to all the scenarios that I want to test. It's not really what I expected. So I need, again, to review and see what's happening. So we have a setup and a cleanup is go to the cleanup thing, and then it has the test, and it does all the right thing. Get the current vote, add a new vote with a post, and add delays, which I'm not sure is something like a slip 1 millisecond. I don't know. Again, I can play with that as well. Getting the count again, getting out the JSON, and finally doing assert on the comparison that the current vote, which is what was before, plus 1 equals this. And the function here, so that becomes a lot of code. A lot of code. I didn't stop here. I again wanted transformation. I said, okay, can you do this, but with PyTest, different framework? Can you rewrite it? And of course it did like 10 seconds later, I got everything. It's exactly the same as before with all the noise and the same assumption that it setup is different. Although this is like a bit different because if you look at the fixture, which is like the setup, calling the test and the cleanup, what happened is that kind of dumped all the first function that we had here. So it does not call the function, it doesn't create a function, call it. It does it here, calls the test, and then the clean test data is part of the everything. So it still runs everything, but the organization of the code, not what I expect. So I asked, that's a lot of code. I wanted, can you refactor to make it more readable and maintainable? Didn't give it any direction of how to do this. And he did. He told me, sure, this is exactly the explanation of what it did. It dumped everything in one file. I separated it into two. So it basically what it did was create a wrapper that does the APIs, probably something that I would do as well. And the test just calls these things. Lots of comments here. So small refactoring works as it worked before, and you can play with that as well. Refactoring is a way of transformation, so it does it well. You need to run it to see if it actually works. Okay, so this is like the generation stuff. Yeah, and then I said, okay, let's think a bit more about what we want. Let's analyze stuff. So this, I want to show you the wrapper. So this is exactly the code that was before, but in the Cat API client, everything that it does after during the request, it checks the status code. If the status code is not 200, it fails. Here it checks the status code again in the post that it's 200, 201, and that's it. And as we know, just checking the status code, we can do better than that. So I asked it. The add vote method, just a single one from the Cat API client, checks only the status code. It checks that it's 200 or 201. Update the code to include additional asserts. Again, no directions. I wanted to see what will happen. Oh, it happened. So this is the add vote here, and you can see that first of all, it checks the status code, just as before, and then it starts that it has a valid JSON, that an ID exists in the JSON, that the ID is the one we actually, it's the right type. It's the image ID that was sent. It's the value that was sent in the request body. So a lot of us, this is like something that we do in our mind if we don't do this programmatically. If we're sending information and we get a response body, we match, we see that the things that we sent are really what we got back. So it did that. Again, we can do this. It just takes time. And that's a bit more, and even went a bit further. Not after checking everything that was brought back, he actually did a get. So it called the votes to see if what was put in actually comes out. So yeah, that's nice. So more asserts. Could you show the S12? What was S12? Get to the point. The prompt was, I want to start testing from an image. This was the one that created the setup. So I'm telling it what I want to do. Let's get back to our rates. Okay, so we talked about analysis. Another get to the point. So this time I said, create a script that I can run that gets me to a number of votes, which I specify filled with random data. So this is something that I want to sort of repeat, not as part of a test maybe, but I want to say, okay, I want get me to 5 votes or get me to 10 votes, and I'm going to specify this. You fill all the data that you need with random data. I use the magic word random, and things happened. So the cat API client is still the same as before, but this one, generate random sub ID, generate votes. It's got a lot of brains here. Looping over the things of the random stuff and putting them in the sub IDs and so on. So it actually did what I asked. Generates random data and fills it all the data that it wants and save results, and finally and it's also give me the command line options of what I need to run inside it, and yeah, call it generate votes. Boom. There's a question, how did I do this? This is from Claude on the web. I wanted to do this separately from the ID as I did that. So all these things I did on Claude, on web, and copied here. Okay, so this is nice and big and stuff like that. And I want to see if it can do something that I probably won't with preparation of data, is use the builder pattern. So the builder pattern is a way to create data objects. And it's a very well-known pattern. So I just say builder pattern and wanted to see what will happen. A lot of this happened. So it created a builder with these APIs. So you have like with vote count or with single image. So if somebody wants to use this, it will use it like this. Where's the example? Yeah, here, vote generator builder, builder with count, builder with single image, builder. So this is like, this is how you would use it, but there's a lot of code here that I didn't ask for in addition. So this is not like refactoring. This is the cat API client, just as before. Image vote distribution. So this is goes beyond random and gives me weighted distribution, even distribution. This is not refactoring. User ID strategy. How do I want the user ID to the random ID, sequential ID, fixed ID? So yeah, first of all, this is not refactoring. Second, it does what it needs, probably. I didn't test it too much. 3, this is going to be part of my test code. I just added like 700 lines of code to my test code. That's a lot that I didn't write, so, and I need to trust. So if I didn't look at this and just thought about it actually refactored what I had before, no, I would get a lot of things here that may or may not work. So again, I need to be the kindergarten cop here. I need to see what's happening and tell it, yes, do this, don't do this. I don't like this, do it differently, and so on. So that's a lot of things that happened here, and I didn't like this. Again, I'm doing this for every one of us. Okay, final thing I want to show you is create a bug report. Why should I type into Jira if it can type for me? So if the test vote count increases, this is the single test that it created, fails, generate a text for a bug report. Vote count not incrementing properly when voting for images with priority. I didn't ask for priority, maybe high, maybe low, I don't know. Again, this is according to the system understanding of the model. Steps to reproduce expected results, actual result, because it knows what the test does, so it actually can tell you. Additional information, impact, blah, 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 blah. So that's a nice thing if you like to write a lot of text. It can write the text for you. Okay, it's not if you like. If you don't like to write a lot of text, it can write the text for you. It has the information. Is it exactly what you need? Well, this is like a very simple test, so probably not. There's a lot more. And that's basically it. When I said, okay, well, I don't want to type it into Jira. Don't want to see Jira, really. So I went a step ahead. So write a script that can automatically send a bug report to Jira. So I have a Jira bug reporter now. Now this is hard coded. You see that the template of the specific test is here. Here, vote count and incrementing. But of course, you can like use a bug report with the template that you need in order to not see Jira again. And this is like something that you can do. And I'm not saying that if you don't know automation, it's very risky to do this. If you do, get a helper here. Okay, let's get back to the slides, and let's get after that. I'll answer the questions that I kind of missed here because I want to at least have some coherence here. What we're looking for is to move faster, and we saw examples of how Claude here kind of boosted our pace, and we want to move faster again. We have a goal. It's not like to move faster is the goal. We want to have more time to test the system, to learn about it. And these things that I showed you are examples of things that can speed things up for us. It does, however, require us to have like special goggles and become babysitters. We have to validate. This is not a delegation. And this has to be like proper delegation. Delegation means that I'm not just telling you, you go do something, Mr. Claude, and I trust you with all my heart. No, I need to validate. I need to have some judgment about what I got. I need to understand the context that Claude doesn't have in order to say, okay, I'm going to use that now, not going to use that now, maybe I'm going to use that later. Give me some more details, give me something that is better suited for me. And this could be like a back and forth thing, and could be like after 3 times you say, well, you don't understand. I'll do it myself. However, my experience is that things are getting a lot better in terms of what you can feed it. So I fed it the schema, so it just give it where the schema is, read the schema, understood it. You can give it also pieces of your automation framework, and it will create code for you with your pieces of automation infrastructure. So it can get a lot better and closer to what you need. I did this in a sort of like isolated way and on purpose. So if you're using it with Copilot or Windsurf or whatever cursor that you're using, it can have a lot more context from the code, which may or may not be that good. For the automation code, it's probably better. So it can create the code that you actually do want. The future, our role is changing from being like doing everything ourselves and thinking about everything and trying not to miss stuff to more like a committee. We need to confirm, to review, to make judgment calls, to say we're going to go this way, not that way, and we need to validate. It's very easy to sprout out code today, as we know, as I showed you, also for the developers, and making sure that these things finally work is not going, we're not still going to trust the machines to tell us, yeah, this works exactly as you want. So at least for now, this is what we're going to do, become validators rather than doing testing steps. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. The YouTube channel is Testing Gill. Go for it. All the other webinars are there. Short videos are there. My site is Everyday Unit Testing and testinggill.com. Go to the same place with all the things that the courses, the workshops, and blogs that I do. And you can get in touch with me with all the things here. questions for the things, put them in the chat. I'll just scroll up and see what I missed. How I did the prompts, like I said, in a web browser and copied things into PyCharm. I did create manually the PyCharm project with all the dependencies. It was easy because like it's a very small project. And Open API is the standard for specifying API. And what I did was basically tell it the schema is here. That's basically it. I think he's using Claude. I did use Claude, Sun 3.7. Did he show how to integrate Claude API? So this is not using, this is the Claude chat interface. That's it. You have Copilot, you can current Copilot, you can select the model and the agentic stuff. But you can select the model and you can type in Copilot and it will talk to your favorite model and will probably do what you need. The agentic stuff will actually put the pieces of code where you want to. This is something that I did. For example, the refactoring in the Claude web interface, it just like dumped everything into one file. I did to move stuff around knowingly. What if your schema is really complicated? The schemas that I work are bigger than the context window. I didn't copy the schema into the window, so it's not a copy paste thing. It's not a chat size thing. I gave it like a link to where the schema is. And it worked because this is a cat API. It's not that complex. Try it. I'm guessing it should work. It's not about the size of the chat window, as we all know. Okay, so that's what I want to share with you today. Last questions. Put them in the text box. How do I sign up for future webinars? Go to the site, testingguild.com. And there's on the contact, there's a newsletter. And just get on the newsletter, and all the webinars recordings are that are published are going to be there. So that's how. Or subscribe to the YouTube video channel, which is nice, but it's not fun as the live event, as you have seen. The jokes get stale. No other questions. So thank you for joining me for this almost an hour. Hope to see you in the next webinars and have a nice day. Bye bye.